And we are back again. It's your friendly neighborhood film watcher.
Man,
Frankly, football back in the building. I know it's been a while, man, but sometimes catastrophic things happen, Chris.
yeah,
Sometimes, all of our equipment breaks all at once. And it's weird. We can't explain it sometimes.
true.
Um, but I'm back, I'm back in order. And it's good to be back. Uh, But we got to come back hard, Chris, because we done missed about 3 months of time.
Of course, man. You said
Yeah.
catastrophic things happen. Catastrophic. Your computer blew up.
Mhm.
The Dallas Cowboys football season blew up right in front of our
Yeah.
face when we least expected. And I think it was a good thing for you and I, not for your computer to break, but kind of get an
My
assessment
computer, my
of how
lights,
we
everything.
everything,
My,
yeah, get an assessment of how we saw this whole thing. And we talk from
Mhm.
time to time, text and go back and forth. And the question you asked me was, what is the reason why the Dallas Cowboys have not gotten over the hump? It has now
Mhm.
been 26 years since the Dallas Cowboys have been to the NFC Championship, into the Super Bowl. And the question you asked me, and that's a broad question, but what's
Mhm.
the reason why? So
So
I go ahead. Give me your first thought on that. Why you don't think it's happened? Because
so
26
like you
years is a
said,
long
man,
time, bro.
quarter century plus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And
I ain't
like
had
you
no
said, it's
gray
a
hair.
very
I ain't had no gray hair at that time.
me neither, man. Me neither. And y'all might not be able to see it under all of this excellence right here, but I got a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
them too,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
But a quarter century plus. So I think that, like you said, it's a layered question. And as we dissect it today, we're gonna see that what's the word that we're looking for? Um, Conundrum, is that the right word?
Yeah, it's enough blame to go around. Um, but this whole thing has got to start, I feel, from the top.
Absolutely.
Uh, the last time this organization was championship worthy, there was a separation of power from the top and the coaching area. And one of the biggest things that we at Frankly Football we talk about, one of the first adages we put out there is that
Hmm.
coaching matters. So
Absolutely.
it's gotta be a point where the front office deals with the money and the coaching deals with the coaching. In the last 26 years, we haven't had that. It's been too much of talking from the front office, talking down with the coaches, no matter who it was. Um, as we both said, the only time it's had some pushback in this 25 years is when Bill Parcells was on the sideline. And at that time, he didn't have enough talent to get it over the hump. But the same thing that has happened when they've gotten to the playoffs in these last couple of years, 2000, 2009, 2007, 2009, 2014, 2018, and this last year, there's been just this like just looming cloud that the front office and the owner and slash GM and those guys are talking and trying to make decisions for the coaching staff at inopportune times. Let the coaches coach, let the players play, let the front office deal with that. That's my first point. What do you think about that?
And I think that blaming the Jones family, because it's not just Jerry anymore, is the low hanging fruit. It's
Okay.
easy to do that
Right.
because it starts with them. They are the one constant throughout this time, from the
Mm-hmm.
time that we were the dynasty in the '90s to the struggling Quincy Carter days to the
Mm.
in and out success that we've seen within the last 10 to 12 years.
Right.
Uh, so that's easy to do,
Right.
but you know, you also have to give them their credit at the same time. And I say that because like I said before, this is a bit of a nuanced question. I think that the Joneses, they do kind of possess those tools as general managers to make this a winning organization to an extent. Um, they know how to bring some correct players in, because at the end of the day, that's what the general manager does. Although Will McClay may be responsible for that, for the younger talent,
Right.
but I don't think that's where it ends at. I think
No,
there are some cultural things
I
in play.
and I think that's what you said is low hanging fruit, and it's easy to
Mm-hmm.
poke. Okay, they've been the constant, but when you've had a comedy of errors that like we've had over the last 25 years, because at one time the offense is good, the defense isn't so good, right? Then
Yeah.
when the defense rises to the situation, we've got this problem. Then we have too many miscues. We've been in the upper third, upper 5 to 10 in penalties over the last 25 years. That's a culture, like you said, it's a cultural situation. You turn around when you start having just fluke things happen that just don't happen in certain times in certain areas. We are now in an era where when we do something, we're setting records for doing something. We were the first team ever to be the number one seed and lose in the playoffs at home.
Oh,
That's a record. Um, we're to the point now where you're seeing other franchises that have humongous droughts like the Bengals turn around in one playoff year, turn around have more wins than the Cowboys have had over a 24, 25-year period. So
yeah,
you start setting records with certain things. So when I'm saying, I don't want to look at the low hanging fruit, but the fruit is still there. So you
yeah,
got to say, from coaching staff to quarterbacks to players, whoever they bring in, the one constant is the Joneses, and they do accumulate talent. But in the
yeah.
process of accumulating talent, like you just said, the culture is skewed where you've had too many people leave the building and say it doesn't take all that for you to play football. And those guys go other places and are successful. We mocked Cole Beasley for his comments when he said when he went to Buffalo. We made fun of Chidobe Awuzie when what he said, it doesn't take this much bright lights. And at the end of the day, it's true, because we're sitting here right now, me and you, trying to figure out what the heck are they doing.
I 100% agree, man. Um, and I think that, like we said, them constantly being as close as they are, to kind of move on to that next facet of failure. Them being as close as they have been for the next better part of 2 decades, have led to overconfidence. You know, um, it's almost like the Cowboys expect, regardless of their constant failures, regardless of what players leave in free agency or come in free agency, they expect the fans to, maintain their loyalty. They expect to steamroll the division. So that success bred overconfidence. You know?
I want to say, I don't think it's the point of overconfidence. I think it's arrogance. I think it's to the point that they know there's so many people like you and I, and a plethora of fans in Cowboy Nation that are going to fall in love with that star, who have loved them since uh, Roger Staubach and Tony Dorsett and Drew Pearson and Harvey Martin and Everson Walls, all the way up to Troy, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, all the way even to the days with Romo and Marion Barber and Julius Jones and Tio. I mean, we can name a plethora of great players who've come through, but the culture makes it to the point where the pressure of winning has not been numero uno.
Yes. Yes.
The importance of winning and adding players to get you over the hump. We always go back to the last dynasty, and they said they needed Charles Haley to get them over the hump. They needed a guy who could teach them how to do this, that, and the third to do that. And when's the last time they brought in a guy, free agent, in his prime to come and help get them over the hump?
You
2018, Amari Cooper. Oh, never mind. I digress.
no, you thought that it would have been Mike McCarthy, to be totally honest.
Right. But so that goes to our second point. Where we'll say stability in coaching, or just to the point of saying, is this guy the guy to help us get to this point? And I give Mike McCarthy a mulligan in 2020 because the Cowboys as a whole entire organization, really fumbled the COVID year. And beyond
Yes.
going into this year, they led the league in number of coaches catching COVID. So,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a like I said, it's the apple dumpling game. Like I was talking to Skywalker Steel, it's so many different things going on. Coaches is catching COVID, so if they're catching COVID, players are catching COVID. That's spread throughout the building. You got a mini pandemic, going on right inside the building, and that leads to not knowing who's doing this, who's doing that, and then on top of that, you got to go play a football game. So I think Mike McCarthy came with the pedigree of being a Super Bowl winning coach and being in a winning culture, and having led and dominated the division for quite a long time in the NFC North. He comes here, and in
Mm-hmm.
2 years, he flips the script. He goes from a 6-10 season, lost his quarterback, but when he had his quarterback and had it relative to everybody, he has a successful 12-5 season. The problem goes back to this, that when they lost that game against San Francisco, everything was put in question about what Mike McCarthy could and could not do because of this continual lack of being able to beat quality football teams in this organization over the last 6 years.
I have to agree with you there. I think that, the constant refusal to play the game. And what I mean by play the game is you see how the Los Angeles Rams went all in on 2020. And of course, it paid off for them, but it does not always pay off. But the Cowboys, in some respects, refuse to play the free agency game and go all in on a certain year. Stephen Jones, I believe 2 weeks ago, said that yes, they could go all in on 2020, 2022, but they would pay for it in 2023 and beyond. So their refusal to play the game and in regards to cap wizardry and in that regard can lead to some short-term success, but it's smoke and mirrors. It's not fully sustainable as we see right now. So you have to ask what's beyond that. How do you get beyond what is at the end of the day that plateau, because they're starting to falter right now.
I mean, the thing you look at right now, B, I'm looking at to get to my plateau has gone. My ability to believe and hope about my goal has been, since we started this channel almost 2 years ago, was the NFC Championship.
Yes.
That's what I wanted. And now I've gotten to the point with the disappointment and the failure, and my optimism isn't as high as it was when we started this. Like when we first started this, we thought, hey man, Randy Gregory's gonna give us 10 sacks, DeMarcus Lawrence is gonna play this way, Dak and and Zeke are gonna do this and the third. Now my optimism has gotten to the point of, can I get double-digit win seasons? I have not had double-digit win seasons in almost 10 years. So my goal is for 2023 or 2022 is to get double-digit win season. Can I get back-to-back 10, 11 game winning season to feel comfortable about the direction of this organization? And the way it's set up right now, and we're going to talk about it a little bit further if we're going to talk about the day, tonight, or later on this week, I don't see them putting the ingredients together to do this. This dismantling and breaking up of this football team right now is a tragedy. Looks like it looks like a train wreck. It's a dumpster on fire. because you weren't as far off as you thought you were. And I truly believe because they don't see one problem, understanding, okay, we've got this fixed. We just need a little tweaking here and let's go back at it. That's the difference. I think the biggest problem right now is the way contracts are set up. Which contract do
Yeah.
you think is the craziest right now? That's the biggest problem on this football team.
Well, the biggest problem overall maybe Ezekiel Elliott. But
Absolutely.
that's just because of the nature of the position. It and it can be prone to speedy decline.
Okay.
He is paid in a manner of similar to the wide receiver position. He's I believe he's making like $18 million this year
Okay.
in 2022.
Right.
But he is declining
Mm-hmm.
at a steady rate.
Okay.
While he got almost 1,000 yards in
No, he got
2021,
he got 1,000.
um,
But go ahead.
he he could have been more beneficial to the team if he split his carries with Tony Pollard or Corey
Mm-hmm.
Clement, if we're being totally honest, a bit more.
Okay.
Because
Uh,
knowing that Zeke tore his knee up and injured his PCL, he was not benefiting the team by hogging those carries.
right.
So Zeke Elliott eating up that much of the team's cap space may be the most problematic contract on the team right now.
Okay. Um, I, I agree with you about his contract. Um, by no means am I sitting here saying we're gonna do a bash Zeke session, but let's
No,
just
not
break
at
it
all.
down
Not at all.
in layman's terms. It used to be the high watermark was let a guy get 1,000 yards. One of the
Mm-hmm.
greatest things that Emmitt Smith was famous for was having those 10+ years, consecutive years of 1,000 yards. But in the 17-game season, 1,000 yards is 53 yards a game.
Yes.
That's not an adequate running game. So him getting 1,000 yards is predicated on him getting the rock, having the opportunity to run the ball, them having a lead, them wearing people down. Zeke turned around and got hurt, as we all saw, but because of he wanted to show that he was the warrior, and we have always had this mentality, hey, he's the warrior. But it gets to the point of what's the betterment for the team. And the betterment for the team would have been that once he got hurt, no matter what his contract was, sit him down. I think
Yeah.
me and you had discussed when Tyron Smith rolled his ankle, we were like, hey, sit Tyron Smith so he can get 3 to 4 games where he can be healthy and then he can give us this stretch run. Because we cared about Tyron Smith for 4 to 5 games going to the playoffs. Regular season games didn't matter. So if it was okay to sit Tyron Smith, put Terrence Steele over there, get him in baptism by fire at left tackle. Why wouldn't the organization, why didn't the coaching staff, why didn't Skip Peter or running back coach say, hey, let's sit Zeke for 3 to 4 games to get him to 100% and find out what we got with Pollard? Find another guy on the street in week 5 or week 6 to bring him in to learn this system, to learn how to block and go from there. The problem is they never thought. It was like me and you sitting at the house eating chicken wings and talking over YouTube can figure that out. But guys who paid
Of course.
hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that didn't come up with the mindset, let's sit him. And then I think for us, going back to what coaching matters, when you're in the bottom third of pre-snap motion, leaves the stench and smell of Jason Garrett and Scott Linehan on your offense. And that's exactly what we got in the second half of the season.
I agree. And I think that teams caught on to us, man. When the season first started, teams were not up to speed on the things that Kellen Moore were doing. But the league is not stagnant. The league is ever changing. And they caught up to Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
So due to the fact that they did not change as the year went on. Uh, we saw that they declined, and it of course bit them in the behind as the postseason approached and came and passed for them.
I think
So
okay.
please go ahead.
No, I'm not saying I don't think that. I think there was, like you said, this is a like you said, it's a conundrum, because your conundrum is you watched your quarterback play MVP caliber up to week 6 to the New England game. And so now when you're starting to make that, you want to continue to play, you want to get out the gate strong, have a little stumble, and then explode and go into the postseason. We did
Mm-hmm.
that. We got off to a great start. We were losing our minds, 6-1. Rain gets hurt with the calf strain. We still a game in Minnesota. And then when he came back, it was like we could see noticeably he was different. We saw without question he was different. But because we saw it was different, we try to get smarter than anyone else. I mean, when you start seeing pictures of uh Terrence Steele out in pass routes, that's when you're trying to be too cute. When you start
Absolutely.
seeing your experiment at left guard go awry and know that you got a problem there, you got to figure out different ways to be able to help that guy. And sometimes you can't. And so that there lies the problem. But you saw this guy in practice every day, so you needed to make a change, and you tried, but it didn't work. So I just think a lot of things contributed to Zeke's decline because the offensive line wasn't at 100%. When the offensive line wasn't 100%, Rain didn't trust everything what he was seeing. The pre-snap motion goes away, so now teams can sit back and just know, okay, we're going to double him, do this, and we don't make them think. And then you get the comedy errors when you play the 49ers, a football team that didn't really show you anything super duper imaginative. They just said, we're going to line up. We're going to believe we're tougher than you. And instead of you meeting the challenge of being as tough as them and doing certain things to put them in position to win, you went home early. And now you're sitting here right now asking people to take pay cuts, franchise tagging guys who don't want to be franchise tagged, and wondering what direction this football team is going.
Absolutely. So I kind of want to bring what you just said into the big picture. I think that this all comes back around to how poor the Cowboys are. And I'm not sure if this is a coaching staff thing because coaching has come and gone. This may be this may start at the top. I think that the Cowboys are truly poor at like evaluating themselves, whether it is scheme or their own talent, the talent that they draft, particularly because I think that they're great at evaluating the guys that they don't draft, like the free agents that they bring. I think that they're amazingly critical of those guys, but the guys that they draft and their own coaches, I think that they're pretty poor at self-evaluating those guys.
Well, okay, keep going.
Let me finish on that one. I think that it's kind of like a rubber band effect, because you go from two extremes. If you remember, they went from being like super stingy with their draft picks to now coveting their draft picks, and this was all within the Will McClay time frame. This did not just start with when he became the head of scouting. They let DeMarco Murray walk, but then they covered Zeke. I think that they are in denial about like some of their weaknesses. And once again, that can be starting with scheme or their player personnel.
Okay, so yeah, you cracked open a whole. You just kicked Pandora's box smooth open tonight. see, when you talk about scheme, because when we're winning, we love the fact of the matter is that we can give it whatever we want to. If we want to run the football with Pollard and Zeke, we can run the
Mm-hmm.
football. If we want to,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to try to take away the runway, we can throw the football all over the yard with Amari Cooper, with CeeDee Lamb, with Michael Gallup, with Dalton Schultz. Hopefully Blake Jarwin is playing. So, instead of having an identity of what we're doing, we have a key thing. This is what we do. We don't have that. So, and that goes to the point of having a lot of plays, which Kellen Moore is great at obtaining yards. But when you look at certain guys or certain staffs, i.e. the Chiefs, i.e. the Rams, i.e. the 49ers, they have certain things that they just do. They scheme people, they get people open, they about pre-snap motion, and they got an identity. Kellen Moore doesn't have an identity. You know what I mean? He can be, he can be the invisible man, because at the end of the day, man, you just never know where he's going. And just going back to the last game we saw him play, he's in the first drive of a playoff game and he's running a hook and ladder.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have an identity there. I think the evaluation, like you said, we don't self-evaluate well. I think we love our guys, but we never put them out in the world to see what the world thinks about our guys. See, you never let you never allowed Dalton Schultz to see what the world thought about him. You just had to cover it and sign him. You never gave certain guys the opportunity to get out in the free market and let somebody see what they thought about him. Some guys, they did. They made Terrence Williams go out and test the market. Then he came back. He came back to Dallas. You let Amari Cooper get to the point of being a free agent and have other people bid on him, and then you brought him back to Dallas, even after you got him on a cheap deal for a year and a half, knowing he was a number one wide receiver. That's what you did. So my thing is, we you hit the nail on the head, but we think our yard is the best looking yard in the world, and nobody else can grow grass like us. That's what we think. And so now you've given contracts to guys. I don't think they're all bad. I think some of the guys have played up to it. But I also think what you've had happen to you right before your eyes is that your offensive line, which is the biggest portion of your team, has gotten old quickly in front of you. And you may have the guys there on the roster to replace some guys, but I don't think you're gonna put your best five out there on the field this year. And that's all continues to be the demise. You're gonna continue to see Zeke not be who Zeke is, or not see Rain be able to have the time to do what he needs to do. That Tony Pollard is going to start becoming a question because you will let one major part of your offense get old right before your eyes, and now you're questioning everything.
Well, I think that especially starting in this year, because after 22, excuse me, after 2022, they have a team option for Zeke's contract. So I think that they may take their running back drafting a tiny bit more seriously this year. So I think that you may see a little bit more variety and in that aspect. But I agree with everything else that you said. I think that the offensive line is already shaken up. Connor Williams is already gone. He's already a free agent. Tyron Smith he's old. For lack of a better word, it is what it is. Tyler Biadasz has already proven that he isn't the future at the position. So he may see his replacement get drafted. The same with Connor McGovern. He may see his replacement get drafted. Lyle Collins, Zach Martin, cool. They cool. They eyed in my book.
They are in your book. Okay.
Yeah, they eye with me. They eye with me. They say they need some. Go get it.
You run it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I said, man, we just getting back, so we got enough time to break all that down about how we feel about the different position groups and the moves they're making in free agency and things of that nature. But I think the number one question you asked was why have they not gotten to a championship in the last 26 years? And I think if we knew the answer to that, me and you would probably be sitting somewhere like Scrooge McDuck swimming in money because that is the multi-billion-dollar question. But here's the one thing that we both know. You love the Cowboys. I love the Cowboys. We're gonna make them.
I'm dressed in it.
Right.
I got a Dak plaque in my background.
Right. We're gonna turn around. We're gonna make them a sandwich. We're gonna put the shades on. We're gonna make excuses for them, and we're gonna be right back here doing this again. We're gonna be right back sitting here, me and you, B side, C side, talking about what we think about with this football team. We're gonna try to figure this thing out, and we hope everybody that clicks on this YouTube link joins in with us. Leave a comment, man. Hit the like button to get us in the algorithm. Get back in the algorithm, man. Because we've been kind of distant, and try to come up with some of the answers. But what we also ask you to do is leave a comment. Give us what your thoughts are, so we can go back and chop this thing up, man, and try to figure it out, man. That's all we can do, man. Because at the end of the day, we are still at a loss for words what's going on this year, and we trudge on. We trudge on forward, loving these Dallas Cowboys and rooting for Cowboy Nation.
You know it, man. You know it. So like Chris said, like the video, subscribe to us. And as if you are not already aware, I am Brandon. That's my man, 100 grand set it off, Chris. And
What's
together
up,
we are Frankly Football.
Peace.